Hello, welcome to PlayStation Access. My name's Rob, and welcome back to the Tuesday Checklist, our weekly feature where we talk about things we couldn't fit into any of our other videos. Today we decided to set ourselves a challenge. Recall a game we've really enjoyed but that no one else on the team will have heard of. The more obscure the better. I'm up first with a bona fide PS1 classic. Bet you won't have heard of this.
So, a game I really love that you probably haven't heard of.
All the games you love we haven't heard of.
I've heard of most of them.
Well, I haven't. So I might even just switch off for this bit. Carry on.
So, a game I love that you probably haven't heard of
I won't have heard of it.
is Kingsley's Adventure. Who's heard of that?
Kingsley.
No one heard of it?
Is that to do with Harry Potter?
No.
Is it to do
Has
with...
anyone heard of it?
No.
Yes. See, that's
Is that it then?
done, yeah.
That's it, game over.
Are you just making it up? Have you made it up?
No.
Tell us more.
He could have made it up.
Kingsley's Adventure is an action-adventure platformer combat game on PS1 where you play as a little fox cub called Kingsley who lives in the Fruit Kingdom. Watching this game back on YouTube today to remind myself of the game, it was really quite interesting because all of the things I just didn't care about when I was a child and I played this game, I'm now looking at as an adult thinking, that doesn't make any sense. Kingsley, the fox cub, lives in the Fruit Kingdom and...
Where's his parents?
He's an orphan.
That's sad.
Heartbreaking.
He's an orphan fox cub. And an evil wizard, who is also a rat, but for some reason feels the need to disguise himself as a chef to do this bad thing.
What,
so
a rat that's
an
a
evil
chef?
rat wizard disguised as a chef
When you say he's disguised as a chef, does he look like a rat in a chef's hat?
He is a rat in a chef's hat,
Right,
yes.
right.
Why he's felt the need to do this, I don't know. He's called Bad Custard, that's his name.
You really
And
have.
he-
This is all made up.
He infiltrates maybe he has to disguise himself as a chef to get into the castle because he steals the Queen's Book of Magic. And with that magic casts a spell that makes things go bad.
Yeah.
And the only one who can save the day is Kingsley. And so Kingsley gets his shield and he gets his sword and he goes around and he's got 5 hearts for your life bar and you can open treasure chests. And the bit of the game I remember most specifically, I don't think I ever finished this game. In fact, I know I never finished this game. But the bit I remember most specifically is a level or like a hub area centered around like a pirate's cove town. And again, looking back at this on YouTube, there's lots of it that doesn't really make any sense. Like, we're on like a nice, cool, beachy, deserty place, and there's a anthropomorphized dolphin walking around on the shore.
What's
A
he
dolphin
walking
with
on?
legs,
On legs?
on legs is walking on the shore, and this dolphin is a pirate called No Beard, which I found really funny because he doesn't have a beard. I think maybe
no
if
hair
you were
at
a
all.
pirate, Nathan, you'd be called No Beard.
I have
That
to be
would
called
be
No
your
Beard.
pirate name.
That is the rule. The pirate names must in some way relate to facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those games where when you talk, the dialogue bubble comes up.
Yeah.
But instead of voice acting, they say funny sounds. So it's like, and the sound people make is like related to what kind of animal they are. So the dolphin is like like kind of squeaky thing. And there's
Why,
a,
Rob?
there's
I
a
don't
pelican. There's a pelican that's like,
Smart
and
choice.
the whole point of this like pirate level is that the evil Captain Gallagher has stolen some galleons from Briny Jim, and you
What
have to
is
go and,
happening with this?
I don't know,
This
I've
is
lost.
going on
I
and you
have
have to
lost
go
How
and
does
be
bad custard tie into this?
Bad Custard is sort of like poisoned and made everything a bit bad. So he's enabled bad people to do bad things basically,
I see.
and turn the defenders of the realm into bad things you need to defeat. And
I
You might
things like
have
that.
answered this, but is Bad Custard his chef's name or is it his wizard name? Is it both
I
names?
can't remember, Dave. He's
Because
just called
who
Bad
is-
Custard.
Can you imagine? Shall we go to Bad Custards for dinner? No, I don't think so. No, me neither. No.
As long as you don't have the
It's a
apple
bad
pie,
disguise.
it'll be
Well,
fine.
that's true. Yeah.
There's like hub areas where you get to talk to people and there's no real danger. And then the sort of traditional dungeony areas where enemies are in there, and there are obstacles and platforming sections. And there's this one bit where you're just in a corridor basically, and there's crabs you have to hit and kill, and some bad seals with shields you have to fight. But also there are cannons like you get on ships, but they're like in the corner of the corridor, just constantly firing cannonballs across the corridor.
Yeah.
It's like an obstacle.
Bad guys
And it's
always
just,
have those in their hideouts.
It's just, I just found it strange looking back at it now. Like, there's no room to get behind that cannon to load up the cannon with cannonballs.
Rob, you don't
So
wanna
where
go
are
down
these
this
infinite
path.
cannonballs coming
You don't
from?
wanna go down
And
this
why is
path.
there a cannon just firing cannons aimlessly
Every
across a
game
corridor?
you loved as a child has.
It's not firing it down the
weird stuff
corridor
like
either,
this.
it's firing it across. So it's like 4 feet of fire. It's just over and over and over again firing cannonballs. And when Kingsley's not there, like, what's this cannon doing? No one at my school really played it or had heard of it, but it was just one of those really wholesome, family-friendly platforming games that I just really enjoy playing.
Well, I'm taking a bit of a risk with this one because I've actually spoken about it before, so I'm just hoping that you've forgotten. But anyway, it's called it's called God of War. It came out just a few months ago, and it's really good. You should check it out. No, it's called Little Big Adventure.
Okay.
Right.
I have completely forgotten about you ever talking about this
And
game,
me, so
and
that's-
I've never heard of it.
It's a game that I think it came to PlayStation 1 in 1997, and that's when I got it. I'd recently got my PlayStation for my birthday, and you know, when you're a kid, getting games is hard because you have to convince your parents or whatever. You have to save up your pocket money, and I could, for some reason, we used to go to this shop called Macro. In the UK, it's like a.
Never heard of that either.
You've not heard of Macro?
No.
You guys not heard of Macro?
Get those in Wales.
It's there's one in
it's,
Bristol. It was the one in Bristol I used to go to, and it's like what do you call it? A wholesaler. And when we went, I could usually get a game. But the weird thing was, it was not like a game shop. It was like a huge shop that did loads and loads of food and drink, and like just weird stuff. You'd walk around just going like, you know, whatever they had that week.
Sounds like Chaplin's to me.
And the games were very much like that. The PlayStation games were just haphazard. It didn't have, you know, Final Fantasy VII or Tomb Raider. It had Little Big Adventure and something else. Shockwave Assault, probably. Things that no one had ever heard of. But for some reason, when we went there, my parents would let me buy a game. So you play as a guy called Twin Sen, who's on the planet Twin Sun.
Same games by any chance?
No,
And-
no, my game's totally different.
Okay.
And it's called Twin Sun because it's got 2 suns. So it's like, unlike Earth, its polar region was in around the equator because the twin suns were at the top and bottom of the
I
planet.
like that.
Yeah, and it was an isometric action, I don't know if you'd call it an action, like a puzzle adventure, a Little Big Adventure, where you play Twin Sun, and he, at the start of the game, you're in an asylum. I mean, it's just so mad. It just like kicks you right. You literally is like, here you go. You know how games were still figuring out how to tell stories and things, and like, you know, cutscenes were big budget and things. So they were, you know, maybe it was in the manual. I don't really remember, but I do remember that the game just starts and you're just in an asylum, just in a cage, just locked up, and the planet is being kind of like, there's a tyrant who is kind of taking control of the planet called Dr. Funfrock.
You were taking the mick out of me for bad custard.
I didn't take the mick out of you, just wanted to know more about Bad Custard. And I don't remember him wearing a frock or it being fun.
No.
He definitely wasn't a fun guy. He was shepherding all of the people for his evil plan was to shepherd all of the inhabitants of this world to the southern hemisphere, and he's doing something in the northern hemisphere, which you find out near the end what he's doing. Twin Sen has had these, like, he's been having these dreams about the world being destroyed, and that's why he's been locked up. And it turns out that actually he's been getting like prophecies, and he is the chosen one. It's very kind of Harry Potter because he thinks he's just a normal guy, and then it turns out he's got this whole lineage of magical ancestors, and it turns out that he has a very important role that he didn't know he has, and he finds like some robes in his house. I mean, I don't know where they were hiding, Like, I've never looked in that drawer in my house. I guess I'll have a look. It's my robes and my magic ball, which is what he attacks people with. A magic ball. Yeah.
Does he throw it at them or?
Yes, he
throws
does.
it at them.
Yeah. And he is I think they're called Ketch or Quetch. There's like 4 races on this planet. He's a Ketch with a Q, and he has a conical head. And this is interesting. They're like, you know, like in Star Trek, where a whole race is only different to humans because they have a wrinkly nose.
Yes.
Or different ears. Like, you know, this is like the Ketch are very like humans, but they have a slightly conical head. But everybody has a ponytail. Everybody.
What? Just
haircut.
A haircut.
Everybody has a ponytail. That's like their
what,
thing.
They have to, or is?
Well, I
could
don't
they
know.
style
I
their
don't
hair
know if
differently
I don't know
they
if
wanted
it's kind of like, you know, if it's there culturally enforced,
Right.
or if it's just it naturally grows. And I remember it had this really weird kind of gameplay mechanic where you had to choose what mode you were in. So you'd start in like normal mode, and then you could change to aggressive mode, and that's how you would like attack people with headbutts, by the way. And then you could go in discreet mode, which would mean that you'd creep around, and every time you took a step, it would play like a bass note, like from a double bass, like boom, 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 which I thought was really amazing. And that, like, people should still be doing that now. That's like needs to come back.
Imagine Metal Gear Solid with that.
And athletic mode, where you could just run and jump, and it was really strange. I think it probably like meant that you could have more buttons, you know, because you go in like athletic mode, and then the face buttons would mean you could do something else, and then aggressive mode, and you could do something else. And I just thought it was really, really clever. And it was loads of stuff like that. It felt really groundbreaking, and I don't really know if it was groundbreaking or if it was the first time I played a game like that. And there was loads of stuff. You had to like change outfits to get past guards, and you had to like hide in some garbage to get picked up by a garbage truck. And I would recommend it, I think. I mean, I'm just worried that it hasn't aged well because I played it in 1997, which is that's 21 years ago.
And Bad Custard.
But yeah, Little Big Adventure. There was a Little Big Adventure 2 as well. I don't really remember if I played that one, but I finished Little Big Adventure. It was great, and I'm proud of myself.
I've actually got quite a lot of games that you've probably never heard of, because one of my favourite things to do, thanks to PS4, is to literally just go onto the PlayStation Store and find the weirdest, like cheapest digital game I can and play it. So I've just got an army of totally weird indie titles that I've just got really, really into. If you haven't heard of this one, I'd actually be quite upset. Well, I won't be quite upset. I'd be a little bit upset. It's called Dieland.
Called what?
Dieland.
Never heard of it.
No,
I
nothing.
live streamed it on the channel like a month ago.
I was
I
on
knew
holiday. I think I was on holiday when.
Yeah.
Something.
No, I'm really into like crafting games, like management crafting games. They're a great way to like boot up the PlayStation. They're not terribly stressful. You can just waste a good couple of hours. And this was a really, really nice little indie game. So when we do the Thursday live streams, always try to find something that's like coming out or about to come out, just to show off at all the games. It was a particularly quiet week, so I'd done what I normally do, gone to the PlayStation Store and gone, what you got for me, digital section?
Nice.
And it had popped up and it looked really sweet. The game it's from a Spanish team, I think, called Chibig. Now the game originally came out on mobile, but then they basically completely remade it to bring it on console because they could then just sort of go crazy with it. And I think it was their first PlayStation 4 game. So it's slightly based off, I think it's a French children's tale called The Little Prince.
Right.
So you're a small child basically living on a tiny, tiny planet all by yourself.
Okay.
You've got to obviously craft things to survive, and now and again different merchants will land and have different tasks. It's like over 100 different like missions for you to complete, and they'll land at like random intervals, and you've got to give them permission to like land and, you know, put them down somewhere, and they'll sell you different things or give you like, I need a roast chicken, and you'll be like, okay, well, how do I get a roast chicken?
Right.
But you can also control the planet's like orbit, like, or spin on its
Okay.
axis. So if it's nighttime, for example, the moon might shine down, or the aurora borealis might shine down through the clouds in certain areas. So you twist and turn the planet so that the moonshine is coming down through the clouds, or maybe on certain crops, and that would then like morph the crops into something else, or maybe give you more. Or if it's raining, you'd have to twist the planet so that the rain was going on to the crops, so they'd grow quicker.
Okay.
If you needed a particular thing. There's like fishing, you can add buildings, and you can get lots of animals, and you can like go to other planets. It's just like a super, super small indie crafting game that is just delightful in like every single way. It's just completely delightful. And it just makes you feel good.
But did you say you're a child?
Yeah, you play as the little prince.
All right. Okay. And these merchants are just coming down.
Yeah.
And they're not like saying, "Are you okay?"
No, well he can't. I think there's a reason. There's a crystal on the planet.
Right.
So that's kind of like why you're there, is to sort of look after the crystal.
Okay.
And like some merchants are good, and like there's a pirate, and then you've got to use your magic spells, because there's also enemies on the planet will appear.
Ooh.
So sometimes there's combat, and you have to use your magic spells, which you can then craft as well to defeat people. It's honestly such a cute little game. If anyone's into sort of just crafting games especially, and just want something really chilled, it's perfection.
Is there an end, or is it more about just building an empire, building the best planets?
There's an end in the sense that there's a certain number of quests, and I guess once you've just done all the quests, there's no more sheeps left to sheep. Right. So you may as we've crafted it all. It's not massive. It's not a huge. It's not like 300 hours long, but it's just that nice little to get wool for the sheep, for example, you've got to not feed the sheep. And then after a while, the sheep gets a little fed up and goes for a walk, and then you've got to find it on your planet, bring it back to the sheep house,
yeah,
and then it'll leave wool behind.
Perfect.
And if you want chicken, like roast chicken,
I always want roast chicken.
when there's a thunderstorm, you've got to hope that the lightning strike will hit one of your chickons.
My God.
But at the same time,
Rob is outraged as a vegan.
I know, I
Absolutely
tell that now. But also, if you want to save your crops with the thunderstorm, you've then got to move the thunderstorm away from your crops.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, everything will catch fire.
Right.
If the lightning strikes, it's really good.
Is it the kid moving the planet? I mean, I know it's you, but is the?
I don't think he's like.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I'm just the omnipotent
Maybe
being
you're
that
the
is
crystal.
just. Maybe I'm.
Huh?
You've just changed the game.
I know.
You've
There you
just
go.
changed the game.
That's what I'm here for.
We better contact the developers.
So I feel like under pressure now, because all of your games that you'd not heard of, I hadn't heard of. But my one is Urban Chaos Riot Response.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Oh.
No, I haven't.
From 2006. Oh no,
Get out,
we
Nathan.
need a game show.
I've
noise.
not heard of it, so 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
What do you know about it, Rob?
The name.
Excellent. There was a previous game called Urban Chaos, which I wasn't even completely aware of until I looked this Riot Response up to remind myself. It's the game that Rocksteady made before they made Batman, before they made Arkham Asylum. And you can kind of see the journey that they went on as a studio. And also, when you go back to look at Urban Chaos now, I really enjoyed it at the time. Because it was like slightly different. It's a first-person shooter set in an urban environment.
It's chaotic.
It is chaotic, and it's but it does stuff a little bit. It is kind of post Half-Life 2, but it's not like a war game, and it's not Half-Life 2. So it's kind of like, oh, this is interesting, and a kind of an old school. You remember, like in the 80s, every kind of arcade light gun game was about like running in a bit like Sylvester Stallone and shooting everything, and it's kind of got that. And when you look back at the gameplay of Urban Chaos now from 2006, it's like, you could not make this game now. Just politically, it's about being like a mean, counter gang stroke terrorist unit policeman who just goes in and just shoots everybody, tase people. You've got it's basically like the visual language of the news, and it's just and now there's a game of it. So you have a riot shield, and people are luckily the gangs are generic, so there's just like a mad gang that's taken over a city, and you go in and you try to take the city back by basically tasing them or shooting kind of tactical weapons at them.
But the gang are like, if like in the 80s, if you drawn what a gang member looks like, it's like someone with like a hockey mask or like a gas mask for no reason. Someone who just looks crazy and their torso's bare and they've got a tattoo. It's like, yeah, you're in a gang.
My mum's in a gang.
And you go in, and what made it different was, what I really remember about it is really solid. Having the riot shield meant that you weren't always just kind of running around, trying to duck behind cover and then come out. And the weapons weren't that same kind of just boring, start with a pistol, end up with a rocket launcher. They were slightly more tactical. So you did have a pistol, but you also, like I said, you had a taser. I think, and you had there was like a real punchy, kind of reminded me of Black a little bit, which was one of the games I considered for this slot as well, like the Criterion first-person shooter.
Yeah,
everyone's heard of that, man.
Good.
Come on.
I'm glad I made the right choice. But yeah, there was just a bit more of a. Basically, you got more points if you had to capture gang leaders. You could just kill them, but you got more points for taking them alive, which played against the awful totalitarianism of the game in other aspects. But you just go with the riot shield and then just tase people until they were asleep. And in that way,
Asleep.
it was a bit like Batman, wasn't it? Because like Batman has got like a range of tactical toys, and he's like sort of
A rich businessman beating down on street level crime.
he is like a bit of there's an authoritarian.
He doesn't kill
streak
anyone.
to Batman.
At least. Although
I would,
he does.
I was gonna say,
I mean,
Some-
someone's got seriously.
Yeah.
some of the
Dead.
people, that I left. I mean, some of them I dropped in water and they were unconscious.
Yeah.
They
Not
float.
Not sure they do, but do they breathe? Is the
Well, if it doesn't come belly up, you'll be
the
fine.
issue? Yeah, cool. I'm not sure Batman was checking on everyone to see.
I didn't get that vibe from him, no.
No, I don't think he minds. So there you go. Urban Chaos Riot Response, I think it's called. And if you play it now,
Well, it better be called that, otherwise.
I remembered at the beginning, but yeah, if you play it now, pinch of political salt there, because it's not right on. It's right in there with the gun.
So what's it called?
Dialand.
Dialand.
Oh, Dialand.
Yeah.
Don't
You
stop.
streamed
Don't
it.
act now.
You streamed
Don't
it.
like you've just woken up.
I remember it now.
I don't.
I know you don't. You're being facetious. I don't approve.
No, I have heard of it, Holly, I promise. It just took me your entire entry to remember. Anyway, let us know in the comments if you've enjoyed any of the games we've talked about, or tell us all about your favourite game you don't think we'll have heard of. Hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when we put a new video live, and join us again next week for another Tuesday checklist. Thanks for watching.